So I'm not going to go completely into my Me Too story because I have a lot. I've done that on Our Stories Untold when I created that website, and I've done that in my own way on Facebook and on Instagram, etc., etc. But what I am going to go into is my discomfort with actually my perspective, which sounds kind of funny that I have discomfort in my own perspective. But ever since I've been on this sexual violence healing journey, which has been this epic journey, you know, I started as this really deep activist. I created Our Stories Untold, a blog about sexual violence in the Mennonite church. And I did a lot of really deep activism work. I worked for Women Under Siege, an organization that documents sexualized violence in conflict. And a lot of my world really was wrapped up in that. A lot of my experience was wrapped up in that, a lot of like the way I felt about the world. And honestly, it was like a really cathartic way for me to release pain, the deep pain that I had inside of myself. But it basically came to a point where I really wanted more for myself. You know, I felt like this is so just sad that I'm stuck in this state of trauma and that I'm stuck in this state of anger. And I'm not saying that anger isn't a positive force, it absolutely is. And boy, oh boy, do I still get pissed off about things. Like, anger is great, but anger needs a positive release. It needs like a valve that's let off of it. And so often, and what I was experiencing in activist circles and what I was experiencing within myself was that that valve was never released. It was like I was just constantly so angry and just so frustrated with these systems that were in place, trying to bring awareness, trying to bring alternative thoughts to these things, and it just didn't seem like it was really going anywhere. And so I embarked on this deep healing journey. I did like a 2-year master's degree on trying to understand sexual healing, especially from spiritual trauma, especially from religious beliefs that have really damaged our sense of knowing ourselves, our sense of sensuality, our sense of pleasure, our sense of who we are in the world. And I embarked on this sex, love, and relationship coaching program with Layla Martin. And basically what I have found is that finding our pleasure is actually almost a harder, more difficult, and perhaps, I don't know the wording to use. I want to be really careful with the language here, but it almost took me more courage than being pissed off. Refinding my pleasure and allowing myself to experience my pleasure again, and like allowing myself to understand what orgasm is and to actually confront the sexual blocks that I have created by patriarchy, created by sexual abuse, all these different things, to actually find that and allow myself to explore that took so much courage. And it felt hopeless. Like for the past 2 years, oh, I'm gonna cry. I like feel it coming into me. For the past 2 years, I have just felt like maybe I can't heal, like everyone else can heal. Like witnessing all these people having really phenomenal experiences in the program that I'm involved in, really watching people have these massive healing experiences and feeling like, God, like when the fuck am I gonna get over my trauma? Like what the hell? Like it's still here, it's still clinging to me, it's still hanging around. Maybe this isn't really like the work for me, or maybe I'm just always gonna be that person who's like in this stage of trauma healing. In the past week, ironically, when all this Me Too stuff came up and all this pain around sexual violence and all these painful experiences that people are sharing, and with this worldwide consciousness of this issue, I have simultaneously been actually feeling pleasure, feeling healing, feeling my sexual energy in a way that I never have before. In a way that's so empowering and just, God, like, I don't even know how to describe it to the world, like to you. Like I don't even know how to say it. It is life-changing, and it opens up your entire body to new realities and to new ways of being in the world. And I feel more empowered and more just in my truth than I ever have before. And it's funny that I feel terrified to admit that. It feels somehow wrong to me that in the week that this is all becoming like so aware in the world is like the week that I'm finally waking up and like rebirthing my sexual pleasure and rebirthing what sensation means to me. And I'm realizing that this shame I'm feeling, that I'm even experiencing that, is the patriarchy. And I know I feel this shame because there's a lot of women in like the feminist movement or people that I used to belong with. I recognize that they don't necessarily value my experiences deeply, or that they think I'm just some cuckoo who's talking about sex all the time. I mean, I've had different people say things, and I'm realizing that that shame that I'm experiencing and this like terrifying view we have of pleasure and sex and orgasm and how we don't want to talk about that, and the shame of actually saying like, oh wow, I'm refining pleasure, I'm refining wholeness, I'm finally experiencing pleasurable sex for the first time in 14 years. The shame that comes with admitting that is part of the patriarchy and is part of what we need to transform. And I really want to bring awareness to sexual violence, and I want to call out people, and I want to bring in accountability, because we need all of that so desperately in our world. But what we also need is deep, deep, deep healing. And we need trauma transformation, and we need to transform the patriarchy. We need to transform the way we see the world, the way we view women, the way we view trans people, the way we view queer people, LGBTQ persons. We absolutely need a deep transformation, and this transformation has to happen on an embodied level, because these systems are going to continue perpetuating as long as people still have this trauma. That's just the truth of the matter. This trauma is carried through generations. So if we really want healing, we have to do the healing work alongside the extremely active, standing out, speaking out work.